Hey guys, thanks for coming out. Our sponsor today is Legends Title. They're going to say something here at the end, so we can thank them for coming out at the end as well. We got two special builders here today. We got Hal Bone with Horizon Homes, and just to give you a little bit about him, he's been building houses since 2007, I believe, and they plan to build 60 houses here this year. So that's a lot. Who's built a house before, like your own house, like had a house built? It's a lot, isn't it? I just built my house, and I couldn't imagine building 60. So it's a big job, and these guys do a fantastic job. We got Jordan Fleming with Fleming Homes. He's going to do 70 houses this year. He's been in Middle Tennessee since 2014. He also came from North Carolina and still has a building business in North Carolina where they're going to do about 30 as well. So he's building about 100 houses total this year. So guys, we got a really special treat today. And the first thing I want to do to get started is just ask a question. Who thinks this market is a challenge? Everybody, right? If you don't, you weren't in the market in 2020 when it wasn't quite such a challenge. But guys, here's something that I've come to believe, that life is happening for me and not to me. Life is happening for me, not to me. Who believes that life happens for you? Even things that are hard, right? And with that mentality, it helps you get through the hard times. I believe that we're going through a tougher market, and it's going to weed out some stuff. Right? It's going to weed out some competition. It's going to weed out some lenders that have already gone out of business. It's going to weed out some builders that aren't doing good business. It's going to weed out people. And at the other side of that, what's going to happen when the market is normal?
More success for us.
There's more success. So I think we have to have that that mentality. I think about a story back in college. I broke my ankle. Some people probably heard that story. It's not a fun thing. I broke my ankle, tore the ligaments, had surgery, and I played college basketball. It made my last 3 years of college basketball a challenge. As you can imagine, I was not a super athlete. You can look at me. I'm semi-athletic, right? Not super athletic. So those guys in college are super athletic. So breaking my ankle, it showed me I had to persevere. Had to work harder. I had to have some humility. And I came out of that, and I learned a lot of lessons from it. If I had to choose, would I choose to go through that? No. But I look back at it, and I know that good things come out of it. Going through this tough market, our team has made a lot of changes. Hopefully your team has made changes. You made changes in your business, making more prospecting calls, taking better care of clients, putting systems in place that will help you when the market changes. So guys, always think about that. It's something Tony Robbins says, life is happening for you, not to you. Also, that goes along with one of my favorite verses in the Bible, Romans 8:28. All things work for good to those who love the Lord. I believe all things work for good. Keep plugging, we'll get through this, and we'll be in a much better place as we go along. So guys, we're going to ask some questions. We got several questions. The first few are kind of at the builders in this market, what they see is coming. And then the last few questions are going to be kind of more realtor related, how you guys can be more successful. And then we'll have a couple really cool questions in here, I think. So I'm going to start with Jordan and ask him, and then I'll have Hal kind of follow up, and then we'll probably ask Hal the question and have Jordan follow up. So Jordan, what do you think the new construction market is headed in the next 1 year, 5 years? Where do you see new construction going?
I'm positive about new construction over the next 1, 2, 3. My crystal ball doesn't go really past that.
Yeah.
I think we're in a healthy market. We've got a lot of good draws coming in for us. I know that we're going through challenges right now, rates, price points, but I think for where we're at, Middle Tennessee, I feel very confident. If I was going to drop a dart in the epicenter of Nashville, a 60-mile radius around it, I feel very good about it. Now, that's my opinion. Could the sky fall out tomorrow? Possibly, but I feel good. We're going to keep on moving forward. We've got projects in the pipeline. We're going to keep on plowing. I feel good. I'm going all in with my risk assessment, but I'm moving forward and still not choking up at all.
Awesome. So very positive. How?
I would agree the same. I mean, we pulled back a little bit at the beginning of this year, and at this point, you kind of look back and you regret doing that because they might have a little bit of lull in my sales and inventory, but certainly I feel like just because of the job growth that we see in Middle Tennessee region, it's just there's still a strong demand and a shorter supply. So I definitely feel like there's going to be a need for homes over the next 2 or 3 plus years. just our tax base and just all the reasons we want to be here. We want to raise our families here. Other people see that, have the same goals, and I think they're going to continue to move to this area.
Yeah, and just to kind of reiterate on that, we do a lot of research and a lot of thought goes into it. We're in the best place, like in the country. People are moving to Florida, Texas, and Tennessee from everywhere. So the supply, these guys can't build them fast enough, which we're going to talk about how long it takes to build a house, but they can't build them fast enough. So the supply cannot meet the demand. The demand is here. The only thing that's choking demand right now is a little bit of fear. Rates and, oh my goodness, the little bit of fear. But as soon as that kind of subsides, demand is there. It's just pent up at the moment. So, Clint, you want to ask the second question?
Yeah. So we'll start, Hal, with you. So what do you see as the biggest obstacle, either within your business or just in new construction right now?
Probably for me, it would be the squeezed margins. So, with the slowdown in the market, I mean, honestly, for years, it seemed like when I first started construction, there weren't really regional or national builders in this market. And that was, pros and cons with having them and not having them, but they certainly have buying power that we just not going to have. And even at the 100 homes, a year level, you're just not going to have the buying power that someone does hundreds or even thousands homes. So for local builders and for me, it's a squeezed margin is probably the biggest hurdle that we have. And then just the lead times it takes to order stuff is a bit of a challenge, and even the labor market. I mean, it's getting better, but still, there's not really a whole lot of subs that are beating the doors now and saying, hey, I can do this faster and cheaper. I haven't, ran into that issue yet.
Okay, awesome.
Anything different? I know you had mentioned rates and price points a second ago.
Yeah, I think challenges, they're ever changing. If you look back 3 years ago, it was COVID, and it was like, the whole world's going to stop moving and everything went on gridlock. And then, a year ago, the challenge was I didn't have enough inventory. That stuff was flying as hard and fast. California money, all cash, over ask. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I kind of like that market a little bit better than where we're at today. But if you fast forward to here and now, I think rates are probably the biggest player on the consumer side and also on the commercial lending side. If they go up 25 basis points, my loans, they get floated up. So if we're at prime plus whatever, we're pushing almost 9%. And so on our funding, it takes a bigger hit, so it affects our margins. On the consumer side, everybody's very sensitive as far as, hey, what are the rates at, now, because the Fed's thing raised them 10 consecutive times, and it's had an impact, so now we've got to be price point sensitive. So a year ago, when it was hot as a firecracker, and we could sell, $800,000, $900,000 houses, that same purchasing power, we're trying to manage and mitigate the price point delivery as well. So I'd say right now, rates and price point are kind of our two biggest obstacles and challenges we're facing.
In Wilson County, what's the sweet spot price point? Like, if you could just build where would you build 100 houses? What price point if you could?
Man, our little sweet spot window, I'm gonna say, is 2,400 to 2,800. Once you start getting over 3,000 square foot, 3-car garage, you're 750 plus. And again, that price point sensitivity, the absorption on those getting gobbled up is now takes longer. So I would say I like the 2,400 to 2,800 square foot houses. You got to build. With the price of land and lots, you can't just, we haven't figured it out, deliver an 1,800 square foot rancher. It just doesn't make sense. So our little market share is probably around the 2,400 to 2,800 is what we try to capture.
Awesome. All right, so Jordan, I'll start back with you, man. What is the time frame for finding land to having a house on the ground ready to sell? Can you walk us through your process of what that looks like?
Too damn long. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It is too long. I know Hal probably feels the same. Handcuffs and get painted in a corner. We try to operate with a sense of urgency, and the reality is by the time someone brings us some land opportunity and we vet it through contract, due diligence, feasibility, we've got to go through, make sure we're in the zoning compliance, we'll have multiple readings at the Planning Commission from sketch, preliminary plat, final plat, start the whole construction drawings with the engineers, with the civil drawings. That process, 2 years minimum. So we're hedging our bet. Let's say you guys find a piece of land, $1 million. We want to contract it and develop it, do the infrastructure on it, and then actually have houses to deliver to sell. 2 years from once we identify it to once we can break ground, year to develop it, and then construction cycle to build out 4-6 months. So we're really kind of hedging our bet when rates are kind of all over the place on a 36-month run. So I'd say 2 years from identifying to being able to do the development infrastructure.
And almost 3 years to actually having a house ready to sell.
From once something is brought to us and we're actually, realtors are able to put a sign in the front yard with a beautiful new construction house, I'd say that's from raw land concept to community, that's how long it takes.
Yeah.
Which is way too long.
Yeah, and you got to think about that, guys. For a builder, let's say they go spend $2 million, $3 million, $5 million on a piece of land. They were financing that at 3%, 3.5% a year ago, right? And those loans aren't fixed. Now they're carrying that $5 million piece of land at 9%, perhaps. And they still got 2 years to go to get that through development, infrastructure, and all that stuff. So that's the hardest part, I think. Even though they know demand is here, like, man, what's China going to do in 3 years, and Russia, and just, it's hard to say, hey, let me go all in. I've been here since 07 doing this. Let me, risk all of this and do that 3 years down the road. I think that's a big risk. So, Hal, what do you see?
No, you're 100% correct. I mean, that's 2+ years on developing anything, honestly, that has some size to it. So, and again, you don't know what the market's going to look like. You have to make that decision to invest that money up front. And, who knows what it's going to look like and when you're ready to put the product on the ground. So, but yeah, it's just the challenge is municipalities are difficult. I mean, even if you have relationships, with your council people and the planning commission and stuff like that, it's still, it's difficult. Honestly, the neighborhoods, neighbors will put expectations on you that are kind of unrealistic, hard to meet. And it's a challenge. So yeah, I have to constantly, sell, I'm here, I'm a local builder, this is my home. I'm going to build a product that I'm proud of, that my son will be proud of, and that I'll stand behind. I'm going to go to the restaurant and I'm going to eat at the same table right next to you. So constantly you have to, tell people this is my community too. I'm not a regional guy, and that helps, and that means some stuff, sometimes. But still, it doesn't shorten the process, shorten the time frame. The review cycles on the engineering side are an extreme challenge. Even when you get subdivisions built and you're trying to sign off, just getting letters of credit. You have to fund the development, and if it costs $1 million, $2 million, whatever it costs, normally you have to put up that same amount of capital for letters of credit. And that is if there's a problem with the streets or the sewer lines over the next year, the city wants to know that, hey, I can, if you don't come back, Mr. Builder or developer, I can take your letter of credit, cash it, and fix the problem. Well, getting this, the cities to release those letters of credit, it's a challenge. They just don't get in a hurry doing it. The bank's calling saying, hey, it's going to renew, you're going to have another fee, to renew it. And it's frustrating. But again, it's part of doing business, and you kind of become numb to it and make the best out of it and push forward.
Yeah, and the reason we wanted to ask that question, guys, is and realtors understand it more than the general public, but a lot of people are like, why don't they just build more houses? Well, find me 200 acres and 3 years from now, we can have you 300 houses on it or whatever that looks like. So it's not a fast process.
I would like to follow up just on mindset, like how you control your mindset and fear. Because when you think about 3 years from now, you're going to buy some land and be able to sell a property on that. Like, how do you deal with the fear that comes along with, man, we're putting a lot of money out with a hope that 24 months, 36 months from now, we're going to maybe make some money?
It's the truth is, you pray about it.
We walk by faith. I was about to say Romans, everything from A to Z.
Yeah. I mean, you pray about it and ask God to give you peace, and then look over you and take care of you, and that's just the bottom line. There's other ways you can take it upon yourself to try to mitigate that. You can bring in partners. You can try to get contracts in advance, with other builders that will take down some lots. But the truth is, there's just, even if they, get in a crunch when it's time you need them to take the lots down, they may be there, they may not be there. So you try to, when you do your first phase, you try to, make those phases smaller where you feel confident that you can manage, you can build. You always can change your product mix when it actually comes time to start going vertical. You can build a smaller product if that's kind of where the market's leading you.
Gotcha. Awesome. You can get the next one.
What are your quality controls, or like what inspection schedule once you've got one coming up starting from the ground up? Like, what is the process of managing that build or inspection schedule?
We've kind of created our own operations team where we've got a handful of project managers or superintendents that manage it from cradle to grave, so from footer to finish. They're on-site boots on the ground. We've got a project coordinator that she's kind of the quarterback in the office, that offensive, defensive, and she runs everything through the computer system. I'd say one of the best things I did maybe 5 or 6 years ago was go into Builder-Trend, which is a software program which houses all the jobs, organizes all the information from permits, plats, color out selections, and got really organized and disciplined in that way. And then we create checklists. So for quality control, we've got different checklists that we've got to upload, make sure that those are good. We also do appraisal software. So when we list a house, our measurements, we send one of our guys out, we host it so we know that we're accurate, because that square footage is a big swing. If you're plus or minus 125 square feet at $275 a square foot, that kind of swings the needle. So just want to make sure we're delivering a fair product, not overstating, not understating. And then I just say kind of our internal quality controls are just our team. Realtors as well, once it goes on, they help our side, their side. Title company, Legends, we do a lot of stuff with them. They help facilitate the transition all the way through the finish line. You guys, it's all kind of a group effort. It's not me, I can tell you that. It's my team.
Right.
That's how we do it.
Hal?
Yeah, along the same lines. There's really more that probably takes place in the office than it does outside the office. That starts, again, from the first stages of the vision of what you're going to do, what you're going to build, what's it going to look like, what the finishes are going to look like, who's the potential buyer. There's just so much time and effort that goes into that. So, but from a quality control standpoint, it's also in the office. When we have issues, one of the challenges we're faced with, if you're out there in the development or in the subdivision, someone will say, hey, if you don't mind, I've got this issue with my house, and they'll tell the superintendent, and he may remember to bring that back to the field or to the office, he may not, so we try to get everything that's emailed to the office where we can follow up and take care of issues, but certainly having boots on the ground is huge. Having someone every day check the vertical build is a big deal, just to be sure they can see it and be part and manage the subs.
Yep. Awesome. Next question, I'll start with you, Hal. What are some current design trends you're seeing? Example would be like, are houses getting bigger, are houses getting smaller? I see a lot of white brick. Like, what are the design trends you're seeing?
Yes, I think that's exactly what we're seeing. More white brick. You keep thinking, is that just a trend that's going to pass? And it is. It will pass. The municipalities are still pushing for more masonry products. I think Lebanon right now is wanting to push for 75% brick. And I don't know the answer to that. As a builder...
Why are they doing that? Is there a reason behind it?
Yes, I'm sure there is. They just want to control the quality and be sure that, that our community is as best as it can be, and I understand that. But I think there's also ways you can lessen creativity when you do some of those type of things. There's certainly Hardy Board, in my mind, is a proven product that is a quality product that the homes look good, and I hate to see products like that, eliminated or minimized. But certainly, masonry products have always been kind of number one, and that's a push that we're still seeing. But I think larger homes, yes. Unfortunately, we all feel like we need a larger home than what we have. And, at some point in our lives, hopefully we realize we have too much and we go the other way. But right now, it seems like that our American dream is to continue to get more.
Right. Jordan, what do you say, man?
One great thing I did a few years ago is I hired a designer, and I put the interior, exterior color out or selections off of my plate, and she has been a tremendous asset. And I'll echo what Hal said. I mean, the white brick, black windows, is it played out? I don't know. I like it still. I mean, I think it looks cool. I think it looks classy, rich, elegant. But I'd say I'd see more exterior-wise, sharp peaks, narrow windows. I'm seeing a large range of her selections with contemporary, sleek, shaker, clean, modern. Just very, very clean, very sleek. The finishes have been really arranged. It used to be just, if it was country, it was oil rub bronze or black, but now we're seeing chrome, brushed nickel, brass, so mixed fixtures coming in is what she's been picking out, and it looks good.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Clint, you with this?
Talk about supply chain issues a little bit. How that has affected your business. Where you see that going over the next year or two.
Supply chain issues, I'm kind of callous and numb to that. It's not as bad as it once was. When you go back to challenges from 3 years ago with COVID, we couldn't get, for no rhyme or reason, a right-hand tub versus a left-hand tub, or tankless water heater versus electric. I mean, it's just, I got a call from the supplier, and black windows or black garage doors take 6 months to get. It's all really kind of just leveled itself out. So I personally don't have any supply chain issues as far as the time frame to get materials. I say that, and then in North Carolina, we just ordered a metal building. It takes 26 weeks. Yesterday is what I found out. So, but here I have not really seen anything on the residential side, or really the development. In the development horizontal infrastructure, it was couldn't get RCP, couldn't get HDPE, and I think all of that has leveled out. What has not is the prices. So prices continue to go up on supply. So the timelines shrank back down, but the cost of goods for the material burden or the labor burden has gone up. Lumber has come way down. Back in the COVID, when sheets of OSB were $50, I think now it's around $14. So lumber's come down, which has helped out tremendously, but we don't really have a supply chain delivery issue anymore on my side for our product.
Anything different there?
It just depends on the product you pick out. We may have a little bit of lead time on, windows, some cabinets, but again, you can make substitutions most of the time to, if there are issues, and we try to even put that in some of our contracts that we have the flexibility to make a substitution if we see it's going to delay the build. It's certainly not like it originally was, but I agree that you kind of learn to adapt and to plan for that, and anticipate there are going to be some lead items.
Yeah. Okay. And how, going into maybe the next question here, when do you typically list your homes, and why? Do you list them before they're even coming out of the ground? Do you wait till cabinets are in, drywall? Like, when do you or when they're completely done?
Yeah, I don't know the magic answer to that. Because we've changed it honestly through the years, and a lot of it will depend on the market. It'll depend on, there's a lot of variables. It may depend on my outlook on the market. It may depend on my cash flow. It may depend on what projects I have coming up, how many projects coming up. So right now we're listing them in kind of the framing stage, to try to minimize the changes. It is very, very difficult, and that's something that as realtors and brokers you can certainly help with, and builders appreciate that, is to manage the expectations and to try to help manage the buyers, because it is difficult to have someone there on a consistent basis walking through the home continually. So if you can list them a little later, that's always been a lot better for us. You lose potentially the ability to do some of your upgrades, but right now we're doing at the framing stage.
Yeah, save a lot of headache. People wanting to move a bathroom and stuff like that. Yeah. Jordan, what about you?
We used to do framing stage. Now we wait till we're about 99% done, and within 30, 45 days of completion. When COVID came and the world kind of shut down, as going back to challenges are just continually changing. Contracts were pulled, everybody kind of got scared for, the right reasons. And we did start to commission our realtors, we got a couple here that pre-sales, and what we found is it was just a whole bunch of customs. It was a little, let's say they're 2,600 square feet, they're turned into just mini customs. And so now that COVID's rebounded and the market went great, now we're kind of on a little bit of a downturn or contraction. We haven't gone back to listing them at framing. I just soon get them final cleaned and final pictures and put them out there. It helps, in my opinion, that some way for the customer to see the vision realized. Some people don't have the capacity to see through the sticks and through the framing and see the finished delivered product. And it's a lot easier where I don't have to hear about changes.
Yeah. So a follow-up question to that, do you guys do custom? Will you contact somebody and say, hey, I got land and I've got a drawing? Will you do a custom home for someone from the ground up? Adam's over here laughing.
Oh, yeah, yes. I mean, I've done, because we just finished a 10,000 square foot one on the lake. I case by case. I do it just because I like to showcase kind of our team, and I gotta like the people, the owners, the property, and the house, and feel real good about it. We're not actively soliciting customs, but we do take them on. It's just gotta have a good feel, good rapport. Gotta like the project. Hey, it's gonna showcase what our guys can do, but we're not aggressively trying to do 10 customs. I think you got to be known for a service level and quality. And I think when people take on too many customs, sometimes that can suffer and go down. So we take them case by case.
Okay.
Yeah, 100% the same. It depends on the buyer. I mean, you can have that initial meeting and immediately, recognize
Red flag.
This isn't the right fit. You need to call Jordan Fleming, not but I mean, it's just a blessing to honestly to have that ability because of the market we're in. We can say, no, that's not the right fit, because I've certainly been in the other markets before when I've taken jobs and then regret them. Because it's difficult to work with certain individuals. But anyway, it's kind of case by case, but it's typically not what we try to do. It's not our core business.
Yeah, okay.
Upgrades. So you wait until your house is 99% done. So does that eliminate upgrades completely?
For the most part, there could be like a photo finish when we want some additional concrete, things like that. And relatively speaking, man, it's almost insignificant. What we do is kind of standard operating procedure is if they want an upgrade done, I try to take that payment upfront, non-refundable. There's a lethal beer truck that has been known to go out and strike people, and I don't want to get left holding the bag. So if they want something done, they need to go ahead and pay for that up front. It's really a pass-through cost. If you're selling a $750,000 house and they want, $2,500 worth of concrete, I mean, I'm not really trying to make any major margin on it. I might put a 10% spread just so that the realtors, I got to pay that additional at the end just to kind of, cover the cost. But I think on the overall big picture, it's insignificant as far as our program because we list towards the end.
What about you, Hal? Is that any
Well,
different?
yeah, no, not really. Just thinking about from the realtor standpoint, again, what we don't want is a customized product, and at the end, something, there's not a pre-approval or something changes, and we're left with a custom product that is not
Pre-sold.
optimal. And it's hard to recoup at that point. So, 50% down is what we typically go for. And then we try to still manage what those requests are and have buyers pick from our selections that we have.
Awesome. So guys, that's the builder section. The next section, we're going to kind of focus on realtors and the difference that they can make for you and give you guys some information. I think this first question is really important. And Jordan, I'll start with you, man. There are some builders out there that don't pay full commission. Okay, they pay a flat fee to you guys, and I'm not a fan. Jordan, what do you guys pay?
We pay retail. All right, it's the cost of doing business, and I'm good to pay it because I'm looking out here and I see opportunities, and assets and resources. So it's just like the cost of diesel in the equipment and the trucks. I mean, we want to make sure that all of our team and our alliances are taken care of.
You say full retail, what does that mean?
3% seller, 3% buyer side.
Awesome. So I think that's a big deal, right? Has anybody sold or shown houses that aren't paying that and want to basically just cut you guys out of it and say, hey, there's a shortage of supply, we don't need you, and I don't think that's good business practice long term.
Some of the big national builders you see do that, and then market shifts a little bit, and then they come back with big incentives. You bring us a buyer and close on it, we'll pay you $10,000 on top. It's short-sighted, to try to cut your comp, over here, and then a year later they're trying to give big incentives. I really like what you said. Stick to what's retail and treat the realtors as your partners. Like, we're all in this together, right? So I like that. I'm assuming, are y'all any different?
No, it's the same thing. And what you said, short-sighted. I mean, I constantly ask myself the question, what is the big picture? What am I trying to do? I want the home sold. I'm not trying to, to squeeze every dollar out of everything. So, and certainly my background is really as a realtor. We started out in '97 as a realtor. So certainly I understand where you come from. I have a lot of acquaintances, still partner at Cumberland Real Estate. And last thing you want to do is you don't want to limit the pool of agents that will support you and help sell your product. So I just, I don't feel like that's the wise choice at this time, to do that.
Awesome. So in my opinion, huge check marks to both of these guys if you're thinking about showing houses. Clint, you got the next one?
Yeah. Who does sell your homes? Who do you typically list with?
Well, I've got a couple right here. I've got Ray, Stephanie Hubner Group. I've got Adam Sharp, Discovery, Lindsay Smith. And what I have found is when I first got started, opportunities were brought to me, and I wanted to reward the people that did. And as those opportunities came, and whether it took a year, 2 years, or however long from development to build out and sell, relationships were created, personal and business. And I would encourage you guys, I think this business is a very big relationship-driven business, to utilize, network, and leverage those. And so it's kind of just grown out of that, an alliance as a kind of they're different brokerages. And what I've found is I've been successful because I'm able to get the best benefit from, Ray and Stephanie on one side. Adam's got, a network of reach and resources and people on another side. So I think that's been one big benefit from ours. Some people may not like that, but I think our little team has been very productive. It's probably where we're at.
Miss Penny. So Penny Benton has worked with me for over 20 years. She's actually, so we co-list our properties. Penny takes the lead on that. She handles 99.9% of our transactions, but we co-list with Carol Thayer, and Jerry Pollard works with us and helps sell our homes. And one of the things I honestly was bashful about for years and didn't want to ever hurt anybody's feelings or ever lose an employee or whatever. But I've learned over time, you've got to focus on strengths, and you try to look at each person, what are their strengths? And Penny and I both are the exact same. We're honestly, so we found Carol and her team to complement us on the sales side, but Penny's gift is on the buy side. I can send Penny out to an auction. We don't even have to discuss it ahead of time. I know her gift is buying, and honestly, a lot of times that's where you make your money. It's on the buy. You can't, if you pay too much for a piece of dirt, it's hard to make it up on the tail end. So having a group or a team or individuals that can complement yourself is huge. And I think you don't need to be bashful about saying, hey, I see this as your gift. That's what I need, and I need you to take the lead on this project.
Awesome. All right, let's see. What's the, and Hal, I'll start back with you. What's the best way for these agents to construct a winning offer? Like, what are the biggest mistakes you see sometimes they make when they make an offer to you?
Again, we're all the same, so keep the offers clean. That's kind of what we like. you know, we want to know that the deal will go through. So maybe they can be pre-qualified ahead of time. You know, that again, we don't want to be left with any kind of customization that we can't, you know, close on. So help manage the buyers.
Is that like reputation? Like, because when they have an offer, you don't know if they're going to manage the buyer or not. So is that reputation of the agent go into it too?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, yes, the more you can do, and the relationship you can build with the buyer is huge, because it truly is about relationships. You're going to go to those that are like-minded, that know that will get the deal done. But for me, again, you want to know that it's going to close, and you don't want offers that are just asking, you know, for tons of changes.
Awesome. Jordan, what about you?
I'd be on the same platform with all that. You know, just fair information, clean, concise. If it's going to be a contingent contract, I like to do a little bit of homework and say, okay, well, if Hal's going to buy my house, the domino effect. Okay, well, what do you have to sell? And then I ask for additional, you know, CMAs and, you know, comps. If it's local here, I'll have a pretty good pulse. If it's an out-of-state buyer, say you're representing somebody from Virginia or wherever, I'll need to dive into that, and I kind of rely on some of the realtors for their insight and information, just to make sure that, you know, a year ago we really weren't competing with contingencies. Now I just want to evaluate them and make sure that they're fair. And I know that the market's changed from a hot and heavy seller market and contracted some, but you know, sometimes there's an offer presented, and I know it's not, you got to present what you've been asked to present, but something that's just cut the legs out from underneath you. You don't even want to respond or engage back. So, you know, something that's fair. You know, we all want to move inventory. You guys want to get paid. I want to move inventory, move stuff from liability back and recirculate money. So just fair, and as much supporting information on contingencies as possible, pre-qualified, you know, and as much as you can on that.
Yeah, and one thing that I always talk to agents about, you know, these guys don't want to cut the price of their home because that's their comp, right? If they're selling 30 houses in a development, somebody comes in, the market's kind of tough, and they try to undercut. Well, if they drop a price to say $40,000 on a house and it closes, the next thing you know, that's your comp. And now really all the houses have to be there. You have to provide upgrades. So you just got to be careful when you go into new construction. Generally, there's not a lot of discounts on the price. Sometimes there's incentives. You guys would much rather give an incentive, keep that price at $750, but give incentives to help, which is our next question, but give incentives to maybe to help people buy that house. But they can't cut that price because now my whole neighborhood just went down by 40 grand each, if that makes sense. So Clint, you got the next one?
Yeah, what are the incentives y'all are offering right now?
Which could be upgrades, closing costs, 2-1 buy downs. I mean, we get creative. We offer, let's say, anything under $750, $10,000 right off the cuff. You can use it however you want to. You can use it as a point buy down, rate buy down. If you want to use it for upgrades, if you want to use it for closing cost concessions, prepaids, you know, that's kind of our standard right now. And again, you know, I appreciate you trying to keep the comps because we don't want to short sell ourselves moving forward. But there's ways to get creative. If there's a deal to be made, we want to make a deal, but you know, not take a hit on the sales price. And there's other ways to you know, incentivize the buyers that are coming in on it. But that's how we do it.
Are you doing that to try to drive in more traffic?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the market condition that we're in today. It's not where we were, you know, 14 months ago, but that's where we're at today as a snapshot. So you got to be dynamic, flexible, and just understand where we're at. And you know, hopefully moving forward, I think things are going to pick back up, and maybe we'll shift some. But just be sensitive to where we're at right now.
And one thing I would say too, guys, it's an incentive, and they hadn't mentioned it, is paying 3%. That's an incentive that they're giving that not all builders are. So that's part of it too. And one little tip that I learned this week, if you're a realtor or if you're a builder and it's you got your new development, you have to be really careful taking that first closing. That first closing sets the precedent, right? And you're always nervous, and I've been there where we've had the buyer buying the first house and like, what are the comps? Well, there's nothing sold in this neighborhood, so we got to go next door. We have a very awesome appraisal board. Montgomery Appraisals is one of our best. We've got 4 or 5 guys that we know on a personal basis. They're going to be really leery about taking a VA offer on a first closing in a neighborhood. Why? Because that appraisal can come in anywhere, right? I mean, we don't have control, and the VA appraiser may come from Manchester to Wilson County and do that appraisal.
Explain
a great
the
point.
VA process, just in case anybody doesn't know.
So if anybody doesn't know, VA appraisals, we order it through VA, and one of the VA appraisals who we don't have any relationship with, don't know, can come and do that appraisal, okay? And some of them are great. There's a lot of great VA appraisals. Some of them aren't, right? And if Jordan sells a house and VA appraisal, first one, and it comes in short, he's got a problem, right? He's probably gonna walk away from it and say, I'm gonna resell this house. So anyway, just kind of keep that in mind. If that's a first house in the subdivision, these guys probably aren't gonna take a VA offer. I would, that's up to you guys, but
So I just had one in Robertson County. It was a property with 6 acres. And I had an appraisal a year before. And the regular appraiser gave me comps on land and on the house. And he gave me an estimate altogether what it was worth. I mean, that was his total, but he separated it out. But then the VA appraiser came in and was horrible. He spent an hour and a half. He had a ladder. He did a full inspection.
yeah.
And I haven't got it back yet, it's supposed to be today. But he's like, well, I won't. I gave him comps of the land and I gave him comps of the house. And he's like, well, I won't look at that. I just have to find the exact house with the exact acreage. I'm like, well, that's really hard to find.
Yeah. So hopefully you keep your fingers crossed and maybe it'll be okay. But you just don't have control, and nobody really controls the appraisers, but we have guys that are on our board for conventional FHA regular houses that they do a great job, and that's why they're on our board. So just something to think about. Next question, and Jordan, I'll start with you. What is the client experience for the buyer and the realtor when they work with you?
It used to be very direct one-on-one. As our company has grown, my personal position has changed more in prospecting land and development opportunities. And so going back to, we created a team and operation where Laura's our project coordinator. We've got a one-on-one project manager or superintendent that does our blue tape walkthroughs. We've got our realtors that help facilitate and handhold. We've got legends, and Tammy's our coordinator over there that helps kind of just cross everything through the finish line. So it's transitioned from not necessarily direct access to me, just because, let's say we sell 70 houses, there's going to be 70 people with my phone number that want to call me, on the weekends and after hours, which is okay, but I want to try to mitigate that. So they really our team handles it and does a fantastic job, from sitting down, walk through, follow throughs, and just hand holding everything.
Awesome.
Very similar approach. I mean, you have to spend your time. For me, it's got to the point where we're looking at the land, where we're going to develop next, what we're going to do, what are the opportunities out there. So, in order to take care of the buyers, honestly, you have to focus on the strengths. I've been told many times, and Penny can vouch for this, don't put me answering the phone because I'm going to give the house away. Mm-hmm. I want the customers happy. I want them taken care of. So I'm not the guy that needs to be on the front line dealing with that, because I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Let's fix it. Again, you focus on trying to have a team that can honestly complement each other, and that's just the best way to approach it.
Awesome.
So, let's say somebody in here finds a tract of land or a single lot. What are y'all looking for when you're thinking about buying a property that can be built on?
Call me 615-788-6996. I will pay you. Yes, realistically, going from putting a sign in the house, you guys need to think about, hey, we've got either new construction or resales, but before that, we need to identify raw land. And either it's going to require infrastructure, horizontal improvements and developments, or there's a capacity to subdivide without it. We need those opportunities brought, and I'm looking at assets and resources. Anything anything that you guys know, I feel like someone in here might have something. I mean, bring it, let us know about it. We'll pre-qualify it. I get every hot sheet from any listing from Wilson County, Rutherford, Trousdale, Sumner County. So the stuff that gets listed on the market, we normally get a crack at it. I get a lot of emails and I kind of filter through those, but just making sure that there's enough power, water, either septic or sanitary sewer to facilitate, one or multiple homes is kind of like the prerequisite. Don't throw stuff over in our wheelhouse that I'm chasing my tail, 2 hours, because the biggest thing besides money is time. I mean, that's the biggest commodity that we're all trying to combat, whether it's business, family, personal, and the time, effort, or energy to go, see something that's, got a slope at a 50-degree angle that's not worth anything is not doing us a good service. But if you can pre-qualify anything with the standard water, power, sanitary sewer, or septic, that's a benefit. From there, we'll take it and run with it.
If they don't have sewer, you guys do step systems, and there's a lot that goes into that too, right? As far as how much land has to be set aside and that kind of stuff.
So, area willing to do tear downs and build two, nothing too big. What's the biggest?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what Hal's appetite is. I mean, 100 acres less is kind of a good desirable point for me, because remember that crystal ball, whether you've got phase 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, I don't want to be leveraged out for 10 years. The sweet spot, 50 acres is kind of where I'm at. And it doesn't matter if it has a house on it. It doesn't matter. That's stuff that we can work through. And again, I'll tell you guys, I'll enlist if somebody here has something, man, let me know. We will take a good qualified look at it and discount and pay you guys. I mean, that's what it's about, retail or more. I mean, that's our business is driven. I've got to continually be prospecting and looking for land. I've got to stay ahead of my team, because if I don't, my machine slows down and runs out. So I've got to continually fill that pipeline and backfill. So if projects take 3 years from identifying to delivery, I've got to have multiple in that pipeline.
Anything different there, Hal?
Not really. I've got a tract of land right now. It's a little over 100 acres, and the last time I figured the math on that, the cost of the land, the cost of the infrastructure, the design of that, the approval process, the letters of credit to do it, and then the cost of going vertical, building a product, it's going to be pushing like $13 million before I have my first home sale. That's a lot, I mean, it's so, again, it kind of, that's where you try to bring in partners, you try to bring in other buyers builders that want to possibly buy lots. So I mean, when you get to that size, 100 acres, it's a lot. So I mean, certainly smaller tracts are just going to be easier to choke down. You're going to have an appetite for more of that. But I mean, the topo is a big deal in this area. It seems like rock is obviously a huge factor for this area. But again, until you look at it, you just don't. You really kind of, every piece is unique. It's different. So like Jordan said, I would just bring it to us, let us look at it, and we'll tell you what we think.
Yeah.
On a computer screen, we can vet from a helicopter view very quickly. I mean, I can either give it a thumbs up and we're going to take it around base 2 or not. Very, very prompt.
Okay. And kind of piggyback on that, not necessarily for you guys, but if an agent would like to list and like, hey, they bring the land and maybe it's to you guys or to a different builder, I mean, how do they go about earning those listings and say, hey, I've got land, it's not on the market, I've got this, my granddad's selling something? How would they go and become a listing agent? Because that can be life-changing for an agent to say, hey, I'm gonna list 50 houses next year or 2 years from now when we get them ready to go.
Absolutely. I think it just takes time, is the truth. Have realistic expectations, because again, it's relationships, and you want to be working with someone that obviously is like-minded, has the same values as you do. But that is an excellent idea. I mean, bring opportunities. Don't send all the good stuff, to one person and then expect, the builder to recognize that and not have an opportunity. So anytime you see an opportunity, say, hey, this is what I see, this is what I think, would you have interest? And be honest, just say, hey, I'd love to have the opportunity to work with you. And what does that look like? Any needs you have right now, what could I do? Here's my strengths. here's what I'm good at, here's the direction I'm going. If that fits you or anything you're doing, please let me know, and then just stay in contact. Because again, if you're not in contact, it's easy to get busy and just to move on and forget about previous conversations.
Yep. Okay. Anything different?
No, I'd still go on the same, it takes time. So if it is a project that requires infrastructure and development, just setting the expectations that we said earlier, the runway can be from identifying it to doing due diligence, feasibilities, and approvals is long, and that's just where it's at. I wish we could expedite it, but we can't. If there's a land opportunity that's out there, I feel like a lot of the grand slams or the home runs are ones that aren't on the MLS or aren't getting listed. If you're Memorial Day weekend and cousin Johnny talks about relocating and he's got a farm here, or so, I think that's really the wins and the successes. Is to, hey, we've got something, we'll take a look at it. We want to pay on, the land opportunity, the house opportunity. It comes with trust and with time and with relationships, but we'll definitely make sure that everybody's taken care of on the front end, and then evaluate, what is going to be realized on that opportunity on the second bite of the apple.
Awesome. And then how important is it to work with a Legends title, a good lender, great realtors? Like, how important, you mentioned your team several times, but having those third-party outside partners, how important is that to your business?
Instrumental. I mean, I think our success is just a reflection of my team's success, because I'm in the office a lot. I used to be out in the field a lot, but I'm in the office a lot. So, and trusting and having the confidence that you guys are pre-qualifying these buyers out there. I know banks are getting a little bit stricter. The financial space is stress testing and taking another look, but making sure that pre-qualified, that the income ratios, that the realtors are fair and communicating. Legends does a fantastic streamlined process for us. So it's just putting the trust in the team, and they pretty much carry it for us.
Awesome. Hal?
Same thing. Relationships are huge. You want to know it will close. You want to get it across the finish line. So working with those that have a proven track record, that follow through, that vet buyers well, it's extremely important.
Absolutely. So last question, we're going to have a Q&A for you guys too, okay? So if y'all have questions, make notes. But do y'all have any upcoming communities that, that's coming up you'd like to spotlight? Do you have something coming up like 6 months from now or maybe a year from now? Hey, we're looking at this place in Lebanon. Here's the price point that you guys would like to.
What you got, Hal?
Kind of let.
Where you at? What you got?
These realtors want to know what's coming before it does. It's a little sneak peek,
Yeah, we have a townhome development. It's 109 townhomes on Carver Lane called Carver Station. I'm proud of that. Again, we're competing at this point with the regional builders, and that's just difficult. But I can walk in one of our homes or one of Jordan's homes or other local builders and immediately see the difference.
Yep.
But not everybody can see that, and not everybody's concerned about those differences. So the Carver Station, we have 109 townhomes. They're at right under 300 to 324.9, I believe, is the highest townhome there. And then I have a development.
So did you hear that? There's 109 townhomes at 325 and less coming. Think y'all could sell that in this market? There's a lot of demand in that price point.
What time frame?
They're on the ground now.
Oh, they're coming.
Jerry's there every Saturday and Sunday and Friday.
And whenever you need it.
Yes.
I'll meet you.
There you go.
And we do have that 100-acre development coming up by the end of the year. I have to break ground or else my entitlements will lapse. So I'm getting ready to break ground on that. It's on Bethlehem Road. Those homes will have to be, again, because of cost, probably $800,000 and up.
And how many houses on that 100 acres?
Again, that's something I think there's value with local builders. 171 lots. That's not a lot of density. I met with a developer that's to the south of me 2 weeks ago, and they have over 300 plus on less acreage.
That ends up being like quarter-acre lots, or?
Yeah, it's numbers. I mean, and the truth is, from a financial standpoint, do I want more density? Would it help me financially? Absolutely. Is it the product that I'm gonna be proud of, that I want my son to look at and say, my dad did that? Probably not.
Yeah.
No, in long term, what's it gonna do for the community? So I think there's the value in the local builders. Again, it's our home. We care about, what it looks like 25 years from now. It's not gonna be, total a rental development. So, so Bethlehem Bridge is the name of the development. I'll be breaking ground by the end of the year, so it'll probably be about a year out.
So you're talking about 800,000. What's the square footage roughly?
It'll be around 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
171.
So with the infrastructure, that ends up being about a half-acre lot, roughly, because you got a lot of roads and stuff.
So,
Or
to get it approved, we had to go through what they call a conservation overlay. So, and there's topo on this land. So, yes, those lots will be around a third acre is what
Okay.
the majority of them are. If you do that math, they should actually be bigger than that. But again, we stayed off the slopes, we stayed out of the low areas, we set in from the existing subdivisions, which allows you to have smaller lots, on the land that's more level, that's more to the center of the property.
perfect.
Where'd you say Carver and Bethlehem were?
Carver Lane is on the west side of Lebanon off West Main Street. So it's called Carver Station. Get with me when you leave if you want to, and I can give you, do you know the actual addresses?
There's Floyd Junction and Baxter Crossing is the actual names of the roads. And Carver Connection, yeah. There's streets.
And Jordan, do you have anything?
Behind the Jordans. So you'll see. Okay. Bethlehem's on the west side also.
We've got a couple of upcoming communities in Wilson County. Misty Cove Estates, which is off of North Lakeview Drive. It'll be about 60 homes right there. It's going to be on a step system. And they're going to range from, I'd say, 3/4 acre lots to 2 acre home sites. We're going to start infrastructure on it, probably next quarter. So again, the delivery of, hey, when's it going to be product in there and be able to sell is a ways out. We've got another project off of Burford Road, Amber Falls, which will be 55 homes. They're all going to be 1 acre lots. And that'll, again, delivery is going to be 2024 on that. We've made some shifts and some moves out to Trousdale County, Freedom Farms. Over there, they're going to be 22 acreage size, anywhere from 2 acre to 5 acre home sites, and we're going vertical on those right now. They're in the 2,500 square foot range. I got a couple 2,800 square foots, but kind of that window that I talked about earlier.
Yeah. So guys, I hope you picked up on a couple things that I picked up on that I kind of already knew, but like local home builders are on your team. They're going to build a higher quality house than the big tract builders. The big tract builders are in it for profit. They answer to corporate, right? And they're going to figure out ways to build that house as fast and as cheap as they can. But these guys build a higher quality home. And they're going to pay you a fair commission, the full commission that you should get. So I just think it's super important to work with local home builders who are going to build a higher quality product and be here. And they're building stuff for their community, not, hey, we found some land and we're going to be in Houston next year and we're going to go to Dallas when it's hot. And
there's a
all that stuff.
reputation with local that stays post-closing, right? You buy a big house from a big national builder and, their reputation is not nearly as important as somebody that's local that wants to stand behind what they've built. And your client will be happy if they went that route when somebody's standing behind it that is local, that has a reputation here. How does that affect y'all?
Boy, am I glad I got those two submitted before that reading last month. So, you just got to be dynamic, all right? So your challenges and obstacles, they're ever changing, interest rates, price points, finishes, supply chain issues. It's not going to stop us, man. We're going to hustle, we're going to grind. We just got to identify in a different capacity now. So if a farm, let's say A1 now is a minimum of 80,000 square foot lots, well, we've got to go in it with the intentionality for density and what the yield is based on that. That's the new standard. So they move the goalpost. Okay, so it's not going to stop the game. You know, we just have to identify now. It's going to give different consideration on purchasing power. You know, if you were a landowner or cousin Jimmy wants to sell his farm and he had 80 acres, well, at 40,000 square foot lots, he could have potentially yielded, you know, X amount of units. Now it's going to be Y amount of units. So the acquisition cost is going to be modified, but I still think land's going to turn. It's going to, you know, produce a different lot purchasing power. You know, instead of buying a 1 acre lot, you're going to be buying almost a 2 acre lot.
And does that also mean bigger houses? Usually.
Typically, you know, the bigger the buy-in, the bigger the house.
Yeah.
It's really
Good
important, though,
question.
to, like,
Jordan,
Yes.
could you and Hal, when the audience asks a question, would you mind repeating the question so the people online can hear it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
if you've got a client who thinks their 10 acres is worth way more than it is actually worth, information like that is really helpful, right? As a realtor, to explain to them why it's not as valuable as it used to be, because you can't get as much out of it as you could, what did you say, 2 months ago?
Yep.
2 months ago? Whenever that changed. So having that information is super valuable because it allows us to communicate to the client what they actually have. Who has a client who thinks that their land is worth like 5 times more than it's actually worth? People think that their 5 acres is worth $1 million these days, and you know, land has gotten really valuable, but everybody thinks theirs is worth more than it actually is.
David.
I honestly think that was the intention, you know, certainly of that. They're probably trying to just improve the product for the community, but that's unfortunately a side effect. It does cause the values of larger tracts to decrease. You can't pay if you can't get the density. So.
What is that, almost an acre? When they broke that down, is that almost like an acre lot?
An acre is 43,560 square feet. So it was at 40,000 square feet, which is like 9/10 of an acre. Now it's basically just under 2 acres. So 80,000 square feet minimum for A1 is what the reg change went to. So just under 2 acres.
So can you explain A1, what the zoning, what that means?
I can't.
All right, so yeah. So Wilson County, all right, is an overlay on top of City of Mount Juliet. So we're in the City of Mount Juliet right now. Well, if you go down the road and let's say you're on Bender's Ferry, all right, that's going to be A1, which is going to be zoned agricultural 1, which you've got to be in compliance for, you know, lot size, density, and use. So there's going to say you can have these criteria, and if you fit, you comply, then you can move forward with that project. You know, City of Mount Juliet, like right here, is going to be in a residential or R2, or this is probably commercial CN or CS zoning, but you just got to be very sensitive on where you're at. But most of Lebanon, Watertown, outskirts is all going to be A1.
How do you stay on top of those changes?
Future land use maps. So, and there's a lot that's, you know, changing and modified. And if something is close to it, you've got opportunity for positioning for rezoning. So let's say you've got an A1 50-acre tract right now that Cousin Jimmy's going to get relocated, and it touches another parcel adjacent to it that might be residential somehow, some way. Well, then you've got merit to maybe have this rezoned, which would increase the density. So just recognizing where those lines are for, you know, each really jurisdiction, whether it's, you know, inner city, Mount Juliet, Watertown, Lebanon, and then where it breaches and goes to county. But you know, if you're in here, this area, you're in the concentrated use.
And I'll share, you guys as realtors can add a ton of value if you start understanding that. I know a couple guys that's what they do. They'll find stuff that's zoned this way, and it may be Davidson County because there's a lot more stuff you can do. But it's zoned this way, and this way it's worth this. But I know the councilwoman, and I can make a quick phone call, and it's close to this zoning, and I believe I can get this switched. And if we get the zoning switched, it could be worth double, right? So as realtors, if you'll learn that, and you go to a client and like, hey, I've been offered $100,000 for my, you know, my one lot that you can build on down here, you may be able to say, listen, if we can get this rezoned, it's worth $200,000. Right? Or I can bring you a much better offer than $100,000, and Jordan will come in and give them a much better deal. He goes through and takes the risk of getting it rezoned, then maybe he's able to build 2 houses on it. And that lot's worth double. Okay, so there's a lot of things, and I'm not an expert on it at all, but I have a couple of guys that I make phone calls to, and they know. So as agents, can be an amazing way to add value to clients. David, you had a question?
I did. Just speaking of that, I mean, the ongoing joke is, well, how much land in Wilson County these days? Like, is it pasture? Is it acreage? Is it woods? Is it, like, what is it being used for, right? So as a realtor, our time is precious also. So we want to be able to get you guys what you're looking for, buyers what they're looking for as quickly as possible. So if I'm taking apart land and I find something in your sweet spot, or I find something, whatever I need, and it's power, it's all the general stuff. How do you get to that feasibility study quicker? How do you find out if multiple septics are available? Like, I know how to look at all the resources that we have on our side, but I just didn't know if there was a quicker way or a more efficient way to find buildable tracts and buildable vast quantities of land.
So send it to us and then ask to go through the review process with us. And let us just kind of walk you through it, because again, we'll see where the location is, sewer, half a mile down the road. What are the zoning opportunities? What can we get it zoned to? What do we think? You can meet, one of the things I want to say a minute ago, go to the planning commission meetings. You'll learn so much. You'll see who's doing what is coming, what fits what you want to do. And you'll just learn a lot, and you'll learn the lingo, you'll learn to pick up on it. But bring us the deal, and then just ask us to explain, why are you telling me it's worth only 5,000 an acre? Help me understand that. And that's typically something we don't mind doing if it's going to help us all.
So don't bring yourself.
Chris, we've got 2 questions in the chat.
Okay.
First is, with the majority of expired listings being new builds, construction, what are builders like yourselves looking for in a listing agent? And what do you recommend for listing agents to get in front of builders and ultimately earn their business in regards to the listing side?
Which we touched on a little bit, but there's maybe some more in there. So you say expired listings on the new construction side? Mm-hmm. What causes that, and then how can agents?
What causes the expired listings?
Overpriced.
Yeah, I think the market tells you guys, and it tells us information. I think information is key. Just, if you think your 5 acres is worth $1 million, well, put it on the market, and if it goes, good for you. Set those comps.
And if it
but
expires,
most likely we've seen, and like I said, I get these hot sheets all day, every day, and you start to see these standards set, and then they tick down, tick down, tick down, tick down. So I think it's really just the market responding to what you're presenting out there, and there's going to be some kind of equilibrium where there's a saturation point. Normally, if there's getting traction and there's getting viewings and showings, and there's excitement about it, you may not have a contract on it, I think you're in that window. I mean, I think that you just listen to your team and say, hey, what's the feedback on it?
Yeah. Okay. Second question, Cindy, because I can't see them.
Yeah, Eddie's asking, are there any local municipalities you are trying to stay away from or moving toward that are builder friendly?
Sorry, we can cut the camera for a minute and let them speak freely.
That's a trap question right there. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. No, we appreciate all of the continued support. We are really kind of from Wilson County to Trousdale County to Rutherford County. We're building in Sumner County. We go where the opportunities are. I mean, I can't really dictate the swing of where the next call is, or if you guys get a lead, or Memorial Day weekend barbecue, cousin Jimmy wants to move. Man, he may be in Sumner County, he might be in Trousdale County. So you just have to pursue it and see if it can be a win-win for everybody. So we really don't discriminate. We don't have that luxury because we're not the buying power of these national builders. The big players that can command such a foothold and a stronghold. So we've got to take what we can get when we can get it.
That's spot on. I mean, it's just, we don't have the luxury to choose, and there's not that many options unless we want to start to travel, and I don't want to travel. I want to go home at night.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, these market surrounding Wilson County has just been strong. So, and again, it's about relationships, and again, doing what you say you're going to do. So even working with, municipalities that are difficult or have a difficult reputation, again, if you'll just do what you say you're going to do and say, hey, what can I do? If you don't want this, what is another option? And most of the time, you can reach some common ground if you'll just have a conversation with somebody and work through whatever the hurdle is.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, impact fees. I don't know all the impact fees, but you guys do. I know Williamson County has I think, pretty hefty impact fee, but are you seeing impact fees in Trousdale and Wilson, and how is that affecting things, or is it not?
Insignificant compared to Wilson County. So the cost of permitting is cheaper elsewhere. You've got your Wilson County AFT, which is $5,000. Then you got a square footage fee for permits. I'm sure it's like around 75 cents a square foot or so now. City of Lebanon is going to be an additional impact fee depending on what your product is and where. So, you can be all in, $15,000 before you even dig a footer.
Per house?
Yeah. And so it really kind of just depends. So Wilson County is more expensive initially. Now, does it command a stronger sales price per square foot? Probably so, than being out in DeKalb. So You kind of got to weigh those pros and cons.
Okay. Awesome. Let's take maybe like one more question. It's about time for lunch. Anybody else got a question?
Mine's about something though. How do you figure out what a property is zoned for?
So there's zoning maps. I mean, you can go online at the different municipalities and they'll show you the different zones. But like Jordan was saying a few minutes ago, typically county is primarily the ag zone. But I mean, for the city, meet with the city planners or the county planner would be a good recommendation. And basically, they have land use plans, which basically kind of cast a vision of what they have for the city or for the county. And, once you kind of know what their vision is, then it kind of helps you determine, okay, that fits, this is the direction I need to go.
Would I need to see a person at the planning commission meeting?
They are. They're pretty much always there. They're pretty much one leading the planning commission meetings.
And guys, also on the tax cards, you go on CRS, at the bottom right-hand side, the tax card, it's there. But then it'll say R1 or R10 or A1, so it's a code, and you got to learn the codes.
Okay. So zone X, zone code is X.
No, that's flood. I'm gonna defer to anything about zoning. One last question, guys. We got one right here.
A lot of my first-time home buyers especially are from out of state, and so they really don't know your reputation. So maybe this is a dumb question, but why are you building better quality homes? What can I tell a buyer about you guys? I've heard better quality homes a couple of times.
As far as finishes and amenities and features, we stick build. So we're not doing mass production wall panels and pre-assembled. So we dimensional frame everything out. The majority of our products are going to be complemented with, brick, and I'm a hardy board fan as well. And so the higher end, as opposed to the vinyl veneers on the exterior, our trim and millwork packages far exceed, in my opinion, the national and the regional builders with crown and the trim details and the built-in details, and that kind of just goes all the way through from fixtures, finishes, tile, the higher end porcelains. You may not be able to realize it. One thing we do on all of our houses is we condition crawl space, every crawl space, spray foam, train heat and air units for HVAC and mechanical. A lot of those things you don't see, but we put them in all of our house. Doesn't matter what price points that I know are not typical for other standards.
I think walking through, right? If they come walk through one of your final products that's on the market and walk through a different one and just really look at what you think, I think you can see the difference just walking through it, plus all the things that are underneath the house and just the fact that they're here. It's one of the things I always say, me and Clint talk about, and everybody in our office, the difference in working with a local lender is I might see you at Publix on Sunday afternoon, right? And I'm not going to mess you over. National Lender 1-800 number. If it didn't go through, you can't even find the person you talked to. They're in Michigan, they're in California. So it's just different when you're building, and even Hal saying, I can make more money by doing it the way, a national builder would probably do it, but am I going to be proud of that product 25 years from now? My son saying, he built that subdivision, and that's awesome. Or man, he built those houses and they're kind of, not that great. So anything you would add, Hal, to that?
No, I think it's just who do you want to be? What are your personal goals? Does it meet your values? And a lot of it's buying power. I mean, we just, at the level, unfortunately, we're at, we don't have the buying power. And I think it's just kind of once the ball starts rolling and you get better buying power, I mean, I think everything will kind of start rolling toward what the regional guys do. So I love the size we're at. It's kind of, I feel like we've kind of found our happy medium. Our needs are being met. I feel like we're doing a good product. We have a good team in place. So I think it gets back to who do you want to be? What are your goals?
Awesome. Guys, who have gotten like amazing value? Like, I've learned a ton. So big round of applause to our builders. We have Legends title in the house. So if Carolyn would like to just put in a plug for Legends, I've worked with them for a long time. They do a great job. So
just so I know my audience, I'm sorry I'm late. I've been at 5th grade graduation because that's important.
Yes, it is.
But how many of you are new agents, or y'all all established? I know some of you. Is everybody an established agent? If you don't already have an established relationship, I'd love to talk with you. I'm an attorney. That's one of the differences in here in Mount Juliet. Our title company here in Mount Juliet is attorney based or owned. I'm on staff. And so a lot of your title companies don't necessarily have an attorney. So if you have questions, you can call me. I'll help you answer them. I can't represent your clients. I do represent Legends. However, I can help you through any real estate questions you may have. If you have a zoning question, I can help you figure out what zoning it is, anything like that. So I have cards if anybody wants my card. And if you have questions, I'll stay since I haven't been here.
Yeah. And both of these guys use Legends, so we highly recommend Legends.